Well, good morning. Welcome to all the attendees for this webinar for aerospace industry outlook in Mexico for 2025. It's an honor, a pleasure here to be joined with such excellent panelists today. We certainly would like to start welcoming all of them. And then we're going to start by introducing our first panelist. I'm going to first introduce our panelists. Then they're going to make a small presentation setting the context of what is that they do in Mexico, what is that they represent, what is that their company does in Mexico. And then after that, we're gonna proceed with some questions that we have developed for them. And right after that session, we're gonna open to public Q&A. We certainly ask you that the Q&A that you would like to, the questions that you would like to make to our panelists today be directed to the Q&A chat that is actually in the Zoom platform. So please, if you have any questions about their presentations, or if you would like to ask a question for the open public discussion, please do it through that way. Okay, well, we're going to start by introducing our panelists today. Our first panelist is Felipe Sandoval. Felipe is actually in charge of several business units of Safran in Mexico. He is a very savvy person in terms of startup operations and manufacturing, and he's a very well recognized person or officer in the Mexican aerospace industry. And also, he happens to be my boss right now because he happens to be the chairman of the board of FEMIA. So I happen to report to them right now. So thank you, Felipe. We certainly would like to please give us our presentation, our initial presentation. And this would each presentation would take somewhere around 5 minutes before we go into the question panel. Okay, so Felipe, thank you very much and welcome.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with all of you during this. We are going to try to share with you what is the current situation in the aerospace industry, and what are our outlook based on different analyst information and different reports of different big companies, OEMs and tier ones, and how we are going to manage the situation and the impact of COVID-19 in our industry, which is, of course, is probably all of you know that our industry is one of the most affected ones. And certainly, our current situation is that we are basically managing the situation the best possible way. But one positive message for everybody is that this industry is very resilient. We have been going through similar crises in the past. We were able to go out of the hole, of course, after some years of trouble, but this industry is one of the base of world economy, and certainly is very resilient and long-term planning and vision. Certainly we will share that outlook on what we can expect and how we can better prepare to manage the situation, and also to take advantage of opportunities that are emerging as a result of this new global reassignment or process, and certainly geopolitical situations that have been also playing a factor in the aerospace industry. Thank you, everybody. A pleasure to be with you, and certainly looking forward to share with you what's the outlook of the industry currently.
Thank you, Felipe. Next, but not, is a very good friend of mine. Ricardo Marquez is also the head of supply chain out of Airbus in Mexico, Airbus helicopter in Mexico. He's based in Querétaro. He's also very, very experienced in terms of supply chain management. And therefore, we certainly would like to also welcome Ricardo. Ricardo, thank you, and with your initial presentation. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Luis, and thank you very much from Mexico now for putting this together for all of us. Yes, my name is Ricardo Marquez. I'm the head of global supply chain for the Airbus Querétaro. I'm also the focal point for the procurement function for Airbus Mexico in general. And I have been in charge for setting the self-procuring platforms for this facility and also for other sites. At the same time, we're developing a local supply chain, a national-based supply chain function, developing Mexican companies to support our needs in Mexico, or as the focal point for the North American needs as well. So I've been assessing 133 suppliers for Airbus Commercial in North America, but my main task is to set the Querétaro facility to be autonomous on procuring and planning and establishing their own supply chain. I've been 23 years in the industry in general, but in particular for the aerospace, the latest 6 years. Such challenging industry is quite different from others, different rules apply. It's challenging, especially in these days, like Felipe mentioned it. It's not an easy task. However, we have to face what is coming, and we're ready. Thank you for introducing me.
Thank you, Ricardo. Now we proceed with Alejandro Pavon. Alejandro is also, is a very good thing to work among friends. Alejandro is also one of the most influential supply chain managers in Mexico. He's basically in charge of procurement, and not only in Mexico but in other areas for Safran. And he's a very good friend of the Mexican aerospace industry as well. And also, Alejandro, could you tell me a little bit about your face mask, please? Thanks.
Yes, Luis, good morning to everyone. I am very pleased to share this panel today with such huge representatives of the industry. Also, I want to welcome the people who are listening to us today. First of all, my name is Alejandro. You can call me Alex Pavon. I am an industrial engineer, graduated from the Tech of Querétaro. I am very proud of that. And also, same as that, I am very proud of the Safran efforts through this COVID pandemic. Let me show you, this is a mask, which is very unique worldwide. No one else has this, including Mr. Obama. This is a mask designed, very customized to the face of the Mexican employees in Chihuahua. It's made in Chihuahua in our plant number 1. And it has curcumin, and it also has oxide of titanium. This makes this mask to be a 97 mask, and also this mask kills the COVID from outside to your inside. Also, if you have COVID, it doesn't allow to get outside of the mask because it's killed at the contact of the mask. So no one else has this worldwide, and I am very proud that we are manufacturing those in Chihuahua for our employees. And this is one of the huge examples of how Safran Chihuahua is Aerosystems, by the way. It's taking care of the employees of Safran, and not only in Chihuahua, but we are going to share with the other sites in Mexico where we have a facility. Luis, I am ready. I am anxious to talk to the audience about purchasing, etc. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk with our friends outside.
Thank you, Alex. Of course, you know, we have three of the most knowledgeable and, you know, I would say three of the authorities in terms of supply chain in aerospace in Mexico. So, you know, we're gonna go ahead and proceed with the actual Q&A session, and we're going to start with the first question that we have devised. And, you know, for this instance, I certainly would like all of the panelists, if possible, to turn on their microphones and cameras so that we can have a full interaction with the three of them, just in case they would like to add any questions or comments about that, okay? About any question that we're asking. So, you know, we're gonna start with the first question, and you know, this question goes first to Felipe Sandoval. You know, Felipe, what do you think is your outlook? What is your outlook for Mexico's aerospace industry for this next 5-year period? You know, up until 2025.
Yes, if you can display my presentation and I can talk about it. Yeah, this is the first graph. This is a very popular graph that shows the aerial traffic trend based on airpeak case, which is the passenger kilometer with pay ticket. This is the metric that the industry used to measure the aerial traffic worldwide. As you can see, we are now, because of the COVID-19, experiencing a severe impact, which in general depends on the mix and the different platforms. It represents about 40% demand decrease across the board. So that's huge. That's a lot. And certainly, this is not the first case that the industry has been facing similar crises. As you can see in the graph, we have been facing the several crises with some impact, in most cases, a low impact. The more similar case is when we experienced the 9/11 and the terrorist attack together with the SARS. It was also a pandemic, but not expanded so globally as the COVID-19. But anyway, you know, basically had an impact at the time because of the fears that SARS would be expanding globally as is the case in COVID-19. As you can see in that particular crisis, we experienced like 3 years of impact. In current situation with COVID-19, we experienced like a 4-year to 2024, which is right now in 20, we are experiencing a 40% demand decrease. Little by little, that percentage is going to be diminishing or increasing in the following 3 years or 4 years, up to reaching the level of of PKs similar to the ones experienced in 2009. So this is the first graph. The takeaway in this graph is, first of all, the industry has been facing similar situation and always has been recovered. So this is an industry that is economic crisis resistant and very resilient. So we are going to be recovered, no doubt about it. But certainly we are going to face 3 or 4 years of trouble and slowly recovery. Next one, please. Okay, this is another very popular graph made from the Boeing market report. Boeing just issued the last report, during this week. But this is from the previous one, and certainly is not changing a lot, the numbers. The big change that we can see in this report is the number of total airplanes that are in the backlog is very similar. You can go into the Boeing website and you can download the latest Boeing report. It's public. But certainly, as you can see, the majority of the construction of planes is the single aisle, which is the planes that are using for long-term areas or long-term flights. Small flights is the regional, mainly for 3 to 6 hours flight. So as you can see, the majority of the product that the big OEMs, Boeing and Airbus, build is these single aisles planes. These we expect a recovery between 2021 and 2023. These are the first ones that are going to be recovered. I can share with you that in this moment, for example, in the China region, the recovery is almost complete. So right now, the regional flights and the domestic flights are basically at the levels of 2019. So China is the first region in the world that is practically all full recovered. And certainly we are expecting that especially Europe and US and North America start slowly recover, first in the domestic flights, and then the second portion, which is the wide bodies that are mainly big planes using for long-term flights, for international flights, for intercontinental flights. Those are the ones that are going to be recovered later. That means between 2022 to 2024, because this is going to be driven mainly for the COVID-19 vaccine availability worldwide. Once the vaccine be released and tested and approved and using worldwide, the level of confidence of the customer, of the passengers, are going to be recovered, and certainly the people are going to be much more confident to get into a plane, especially for long-term kind of flights. You know, flights that you are 10 hours to 14 hours in a plane. You know, it's certainly the vaccine is going to be determined in order to recover the confidence. So this is the outlook based on the different analysts. The first one are going to be the domestic flights, and certainly the single aisle planes are going to be the ones that are going to recover faster. The wide bodies, which is the planes that are using for long-term flights, those are going to be the ones that are going to be recovered later. So this is the outlook. Okay, so this is the outlook that I can share for all of you. Go to the next one, please. Now let's talk about the opportunities. The opportunities for Mexico and North America is we are seeing now a mega trend, a regionalization of North American market. That's going to be impacting positively, you know, for this region, the supply chain. Certainly the agreement that we just was made between Canada, US, and Mexico about the new North American Free Trade Agreement, that is going to be enhancing that regionalization of North American market. And certainly the risk, several companies realize that relying in one region, especially China, is very dangerous. So there's going to be another trend to try at least to diversify, if not to relocate from Asia to America, at least to develop another sources in order to decrease the level of risk. In case of something happening in one region, you have a supply chain, an alternative supply chain to support your business. Certainly, that's going to be a big opportunity to increase the participation of North America aerospace supply chain. Currently, Mexico only participates in 3% of content, so it's a huge opportunity there. Mexico is now the cost competitive country in North America, so that position Mexico in an outstanding geographical and competitive frame to compete and to integrate even more products into the supply chain. Certainly, another advantage of Mexico is the country has a lot of different trade agreements. It's one of the countries with the most trade agreements in the world. We have a BASENAR, which is allow Mexico to produce dual use military products. BASA, which is the bilateral agreement with US, and similar trade agreements. In Mexico is positioned in a way that using all those trade agreements and advantages could be a great opportunity to develop supply chain solutions in Mexico as the cost competitive, let's say, country located in North America. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Felipe. Now, we go with the same question, Ricardo, just to see the point of view of Airbus. What is your outlook for Mexico's aerospace industry for the next 5 years?
For the next 5 years, I mean, the recovery will be quite slow. We have had this very optimistic trend until this pandemic situation started, where the industry was duplicating every 15 years the number of passengers. So it was growing quite rapidly. But the hit we had is in between 40 to 50% drop in demand. So the reaction of this is not only the demand of aircraft, but also the confidence of the passengers. It will be hard to see. The most optimistic approach will be 3 years to start the ramp up again, and the pessimistic scenario will be 5 years to get back where we were in 2019. But first, we need to assure, or everybody, we need to assure the health risk is managed, is mitigated, followed by the traveler mindset. See, the confidence of the passenger had to be restored. Otherwise, the industry is not going to react to that, or will be slower. And of course, the economic impact, having this impact worldwide, the resources, the needs for traveling are rationalized. So those three factors are pretty much triggering the recovery rate. But like I said, 3 to 5 years will be the expected recovery horizon. So in the particular case for Airbus in Mexico, we, like everyone else, we need to slow down on our production rates as following the demands. So we still continue, because we have this trend, we still continue in developing local suppliers, because it has to come back. Definitely, the question is when, but the demand is already there. The aircraft had to be replaced eventually, and demands, I mean, is an industry as important as the aerospace is just needs to manage this hit. but demand has to come back. Like I said, 3 to 5 years. Meanwhile, we have to continue with our developing plans. I mean, this is a lengthy process. I mean, to qualify a supplier, it may take 2 to 3 years. So we cannot slow down on that part.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you. I think everybody seems to agree that this is gonna, to take the industry to levels to the 2019 levels, pre-COVID levels, will be somewhere between 2023 and 2024. We had developed at FEMIA 3 scenarios: the optimistic, moderate, and a pessimistic, and these range from 25 to 45% less compared to the levels of 2019 for this year, for the close of this year. So, and we all agree. We also agree that this pre-COVID levels will be somewhere between 2023 and 2024. Alejandro, what's your take on this? What's your outlook for aerospace industry for these next years?
Luis, before I answer, I would like to display a brief presentation about Safran and purchasing. Would you mind in putting on the screen my presentation? All right, thank you very much, Luis. I will speak on the behalf of Safran Aerosystems and the business units that we have in Chihuahua. You can see in there what we have in Chihuahua. So would you please pass to next? Very briefly, Safran has a presence worldwide. It's amazing how many places. The quantity of employees, as you can see, is huge. So we are in every part of the world, covering all the markets. Next. And those are the technologies where Safran has business. It's impressive, but I don't like to spend too much on that. It's just for your information. Next, please. In the technology group, and in this, I am very proud. I want to show off from all of those impressive numbers. I want to mention that in 2019, we have a total spend of 1.5 billion euros in research and design. And that's why the company is very strong and is always at the top of the companies, because we produce technology products, same as Airbus and those key players of the industry. So to be a key player, it means that you have to spend big amount of your income in R&D, same as Safran. Next. Okay, let's talk a little bit about my suppliers chain. Next. This is the spend that we have in Safran Aerosystems. Even we are some of the smallest divisions of Safran, we are probably the widest with the largest amount of BUs, not only in North America, but in the whole world. And we have you can see the spend that we have, that is in euros. Almost half of that is being done in Europe, 30% in North America, and 10% in cost competitive countries. As Felipe mentioned, in Mexico, and the number that he shared is about the same for everyone, and that includes Safran. So from the 10% of the spend in cost competitive countries, in Mexico is on the range of 2 to 3, in other business units 4, but it's very low. So the chances for the Mexican suppliers, the chances for the suppliers that has a facility in Mexico is tremendous. Next, please. This is the spend in Aerosystems, 33% in metals. I will say metals means sheet metal, means machining, means assembly, mechanical assemblies, electronics 23%, electrical 16, and so and so. Next. Well, for 2019 and 2020, the objective of Safran has not changed. The supplier OTD that we are asking for the current suppliers and for suppliers that want to become a supplier of aerosystems is on the range of 90% minimum, and the supplier PPMs, 1,000 PPMs maximum. Apparently might be a tough challenge, but it's not. This is the standard in the industry, and it's very achievable. So this is not something very high. No, this is standard and can be achieved. And in fact, most of the supplier base achieve those numbers. Next. Okay, for those of you who think it's very difficult to enter into the aerospace industry, I have a very easy answer. It's not. If you are doing PSW, PPAPs, and you are in the automotive industry, for instance, and you want to migrate to aerospace, it's very simple. If you are performing PPAPs, then you have 80, 90% almost done so that you can make the equivalent of the PPAP in automotive industry. In aerospace is the FIE documentation. So you very minor changes, but overall you have most of the knowledge that you need to become an aerospace supplier. Next. Also, in other industries, and I put the example of the automotive, but it's oil and gas, it's medical, etc. But mainly the automotive is an industry that has generated many manufacturing operational of excellence. If you can see my chart, you can see that if you are performing 5S audits and you are performing managing the KPIs for your own operation, OEE, PPM, QRQC, you are in there. You are missing the chance to sell to the aerospace, because all of those fantastic manufacturing disciplines are also required for the aerospace. If you are performing that, it's very simple. I will say it's a piece of cake then for you. Next. One of the things I didn't mention when I started this conversation is that in addition of speaking Spanish, I speak Spanglish and French-ñol. So I will combine my Spanglish and my French-ñol a little bit in this brief conversation. This is a flow of the process of my RFQs, and it's in Spanish. In Spanish from Chihuahua. So as you can read, this is a standard process for the industry. It's nothing special. But in here, I just want to mention one of the points that when you compete and you perform an RFQ for Safran Aerosystems, you are competing with the Chinese, with the Africans, with the Turkeys, with everyone, with Eastern Europe suppliers. So you are competing on the big leagues, and this is why sometimes some suppliers may say it's a little difficult, but I will say it's not difficult. It's just that you run the disciplines properly so that you gain business from the companies like Safran Aerosystems. Next, please. Also, in Mexico, Safran Aerosystems has very strong commitment to develop suppliers. And as far as you have a strong mindset in the mind of the upper management of your company that you really want to enter into this industry, we in Safran Aerosystems are very committed to coach you as needed. And it takes sometimes time and effort, and we are open to do that if your mindset, which is for me the most important thing, because sometimes companies are not willing to take the risk or the effort to be certified in AS, and they just want to do some tryouts in doing RFQs, and this is not a mindset. Really, the aerospace industry in Mexico is the hen of the golden eggs. So I suggest that other companies with, in this season of this complex of the economy, you guys do your best and have in your business plan to move to the aerospace, because in here it's Fran doing this coaching. We can do together an action plan to make you achieve that level of performance to be one of our suppliers. In there also, I can volunteer to be your sponsor to become a supplier of Safran Aerosystems. And lastly, some of the suggestions I do is that you have to become a member of FEMIA. You have to become a member of your local aerospace cluster, so that once you are in there, you have enough colleagues to coach you and put you on the appropriate level of capability to become a supplier. Next, Luis. Lastly, I just want to show this little picture. If you are interested, probably in your day-to-day operation, you doesn't listen too much of aerospace, but aerospace is huge, it's beautiful, it's a fantastic industry that you don't realize how big it is, how profitable it is, how magnificent is the industry, how much technology is in the industry, unless you are inside. And you from outside, you only see a little piece of that. What I recommend to the good and capable companies outside is you do your best, put in your, as I said, your business plan to get some business from aerospace, because you will never know how much is in the industry unless you are inside. Luis, thank you for showing this little presentation. Now I want to get back to your question. All right, thank you. My outlook in terms of the suppliers were very deep affected by this pandemic. So we have suppliers in not a good condition everywhere. In Europe, in North America, in Asia, the supplier base was very affected. And I refer to productive parts, supplier base, and indirect purchasing. Everyone is very affected, but when you have a business like with Safran or with Airbus, that even though of this pandemic, we have some of our operations running, you still have some place for keeping your operation running as well. So for those who has not become more affected, there will be on the next 5 years a good opportunity, because as we say in Spanish, a río revuelto, ganancia de pescadores. I want to say, for those of you who still survive and you become coached by Airbus, by Safran, by FEMIA, you have plenty of opportunities. Many business from Asia will return to North America. I have always explained the upper managements in the purchasing that it was a huge mistake to move to places like China. And they never realized until financial fight from US and China, or this pandemic, as Mr. Sandoval mentioned. Finally, the majority of the upper management are convinced that this was a huge mistake. So now that so those operations are coming back to North America, I will say the opportunity that suppliers in Mexico has to get those business is very high. So in my perspective and for suppliers, I will say I am optimistic. I think that as far as the suppliers are have a strategy, because this is not something magic. This is a strategy. If the suppliers has a strategy to get those business, I am sure they have big opportunity that they can receive those business. Thanks, Luis.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, next question is, where are the main challenges that supply chain faces in this scenario? Ricardo, could you please
Yes, sure.
this one?
Yes, it's been it's well understood that Mexico is a cost competitive country. However, this is no longer the order winner. It is. I mean, we have to qualify. We have to perform correctly. And with this current scenarios, other countries, especially in Europe, are doing everything they have to keep their industry inside their countries. So it's not longer a matter of cost reduction or cost reduction, but also performing. Location is quite important. And right now, what I see is an extra capacity available. So the competition is fierce. It's not the mindset we usually see is still quite local, and it had to be changed to global. Because we're not competing to the next door factory, we're competing with India or Morocco. So this mindset is necessary to qualify. And like Alex said, I mean, the industry at first glance doesn't look that attractive because volume doesn't look that attractive, especially if you're coming from automotive or other industries. But it's quite steady. I mean, despite this situation, it's a steady industry. So the main challenges here is there's way too much offer here locally, but qualification has still the roadblock, the main barrier to overcome. Qualification, and sometimes it's not attractive to our national industries to pursue a 3-year qualification for such a small volume. That is discouraging for bidders. So that's one of the challenges we face here, and especially when now industries in Europe are no longer willing to relocate. They want to stay in house. So let's see. We'll continue on assessing and developing those best winners we have, but this is quite a challenge.
Thank you, Ricardo. Felipe, what do you think about the main challenges that the supply chain in the industry faces given these conditions that we have right now?
Yeah, can you please put my presentation just to assess? Well, we have several challenges. One of them is high dependency on foreign material suppliers. Of course, US is the most important base in North America. In the case of dependency of US, is not a big issue, but if, for example, your supply base is out of North America, especially because of cost, some regions have been very competitive in material and raw material costs, but because are doing some kind of dumping. So sometimes it's difficult to compete with the cost of several commodities, but because they are in some way subsidizing by the governments of those countries. That's something that we gotta be aware and be cautious, because especially the new rules in USMCA are enforcing those kind of issues, you know, to minimize that impact in the fair trade, let's say. In the particular case of Mexico, we have a situation of local sources still in early maturity stages. as Ricardo mentioned very well in his comment, aerospace as well as automotive, I think applies to both, are global industries. You are competing with a guy that is in Turkey or in Indonesia or in Malaysia. So you gotta be as competitive as those guys, and the requirements are the same. You gotta be world-class quality and delivery, and gotta be competitive in cost. So what we have observing, especially in the 4 years of the supply chain development program in FEMIA, is that we still have a supply base that is still very immature. Needs to be evolving and transforming into be with a global mindset and with global capabilities to compete with any guy in the world. Certainly in the particular case of Mexico, we have a lack of key raw materials. We have to import everything related to castings, forgings, and pre-preg composite. The country do not produce those, especially forgings that are based on titanium or in nickel base. We all have to be imported. And castings, specialized castings like engineering castings, those are basically not produced in Mexico. The other big challenge is the approval process. As Ricardo and Alejandro mentioned in their presentation, aerospace industry is very regulated industry. So everyone has to go into a very lengthy and painful approval process for new sources. So you can understand that this the nature of this industry is to be highly regulated, because the main concern and the main priority is the safety and security of everybody. So that's why you need to be prepared to face that approval process. And certainly, a lot of the industry certifications are from foreign entities. For example, if you are going to export to the U.S. market, you may need certified by NADCAP, which is a U.S. entity. And that's, of course, it may add some kind of complexity in your certification process. So I think these are the main challenges for supply chain. Certainly, you need to be prepared financially and technically to manage the regulations of the industry, because that's the way it is, that's the nature of the industry. But as Alejandro and Ricardo mentioned, once that you are in, certainly, it's a very profitable and competitive industry for all the players. And certainly once that you develop in the industry, you will find a good place to grow your business. Thank you.
Thank you. Alejandro?
Luis. You know what, Ricardo and Felipe already answered very well. So I will just limit myself to give you an example. In Chihuahua, on the campus of Safran Aerosystems, if you ever visit the campus, and this is the campus being managed by Felipe, when you visit, you get your mouth, you just open the mouth and you can see your baba on your mouth, because you got impressed. What Felipe has done in Chihuahua is tremendous. And it's not only one thing, one formula. He launches one formula every day of the year, and he has been on board for several years. So in Chihuahua, everything surprised you. There is not only one thing, this is everything. Even, let's say, if you walk inside, there are many green belts, many black belts working on savings projects, okay? People outside in the offices or in the floor, they are managing their KPIs very strongly, very disciplined. If you see the layout, the housekeeping, everything is just fantastic. So the challenge, there are many challenges, but we can achieve. Also, I want to mention that in Aerosystems, when the upper management want to share worldwide the best in class facilities so that the other leaders worldwide in the company, they learn from the sister companies. Luis, do you know where they go to visit the best one in worldwide? They always visit Felipe and Chihuahua.
Mhm.
Sometimes Morocco. But what I can say is that like in Mexico, we are very capable and we have everything already implemented to be competitive. So suppliers, they doesn't have to invent anything. They just want to follow the leader. In this case, like Airbus, like Safran. We can coach, and FEMIA can certainly coach. We can just allow the suppliers to become a member of the FEMIA, and you can probably obtain a visit for them to visit the campus of Chihuahua so that they got the fantastic ribeye outside, but while they tour the plants, they can learn a lot. In my opinion, we can do everything. Also, same as Mexicans, there are several other fantastic countries outside, like Tunisia, like Morocco, like Thailand, Singapore. There are many fantastic good players. So we don't have to sleep. We have to cheer up and copy the winner ones to improve the supplier base.
Thank you, Alex. Just for you to continue, we would like to for you to answer the next question, which is, what are the industrial products and services that can be offered to tier ones and OEMs that are most demanded right now? What is that you really require? What are the products or services that are most demanded by the industry in Mexico?
Yes, well, if you remember my presentation, we have a filter. We need suppliers AS certified. We also prefer suppliers already approved by the company. And we have several divisions. In Querétaro, we have engines landing. In Tijuana, we have cabin. In Chihuahua, we have 8 different MBUs. So if you are already one of those suppliers, we can certainly put you on board for the rest of the facilities. But if you don't have if you are not a supplier of Safran already, we need you to be approved for AS and at least have experience in other companies, in other aerospace companies. Being said that, I want to mention that metals processes that like machining, like sheet metal, mechanical assemblies are some of the most needed in my division, and it's very similar to other companies. Plastics, of course, is also very important. Right now, I am looking for plastics to be certified. But but you know what? There are only a few suppliers in plastics being AS certified. I'm just not asking to be a Safran supplier, but being AS certified, I can count them, and there are no more of my fingers in my hands. So it's very important that suppliers understand the industry, and the best way to understand the industry and the requirements that we need, they have to close to FEMIA, to you, Luis, to your group, and you guys explain the suppliers what does Airbus, Safran, Bombardier, etc. What do we require? Because the requirement is there. So I will say just before what I mentioned, machining, sheet metal, plastics, they have to cover those requirements. Otherwise, I have always suppliers calling my cell, sending me emails, but if they don't have requirements already in place, to me it's impossible. They have to get back, they have to get 3-4 steps back and be approved by AS and get some experience with other tier 3, 4 of the aerospace industry. If they want to start, like let's say, with Safran, with Honeywell, and those great companies, They will just start and finish. They will fail. They have to be coached also by other tier 3 or 4 aerospace before they start in Safran. But I am very anxiously looking for good suppliers, mainly on those commodities that I mentioned. But you have my graphic of pie, and you can see in there that metals, plastics, electronics are very high demanded by Safran Aerosystems. Please.
Thank you. Felipe, what do you think about
Again.
most demanded?
There is several commodities. If you put the slide number 11 in my presentation, please, you will see there all the different commodities based on the assessment that FEMIA has been developed in the last 4 years. Go to the next one. Okay, right there. So we, in the purchasing council in FEMIA, where participate most of the OEMs and tier ones, FEMIA has been gathering 630 million of US dollar. And this is not all, you know, we currently are using almost $8 billion of imports in the industry. This is just a sample. But this gives you a very rough idea which are the commodities that are mostly demanded. We are talking about castings, again, castings of aluminum or engineering castings, mainly basically by Inconel, machining, metal stamping, forgings. Again, those forgings are from specialized alloys for the aerospace industry, which is nickel-based and titanium and some other alloys like wasp alloys or astroloys, special processes, thermoforming, coating, plastic injection, assemblies, services like heat treatment, composite raw material. So this is a good idea on what are the type of commodities that are required. I can say that very similar to automotive, the big difference is the kind of materials that are using. For example, in automotive are mainly using steels for metal, and in aerospace are mainly using nickel-based metals, along with others like titanium. So, but you know, this is giving you a very good example of what is needed in the industry.
Thank you. Ricardo, what is your point of Airbus point of view on the most demanded commodities?
Most demanded commodities from the Airbus commercial North America perspective, they're eager to find composites materials and new fibers. Other than having the machining process, over the 130 something suppliers already qualified in Mexico, around 80% of those are machining qualified. But developing new materials is being the limitation here, the constraint on the offer. That's from Airbus commercial. For the Querétaro plant, we are always struggling to get qualified suppliers for special processes, surface treatments and coatings has been a limitation. And I can understand the reason. On top of the ES 100 certification, there's a NADCAP, and on top of that, there's the Airbus qualification. So it's a lengthy process, but that's where the limitations on offers is our main constraint here.
Excellent. Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, I think we're done with the question. We're gonna open with the Q&A, public Q&A questions. We have a lot of questions, and we have a lot of questions on related to how to qualify or how to become a supplier of either Airbus and Safran, and Boeing and Collins and everything. You know, we Alejandro and all of you have discussed this thoroughly, but you know, this is a repeating question. This is a fairly frequent question. Do you have any comments, any additional comments on how to become of this? Just an additional thing from myself is that FEMIA has a national supply chain development program that actually works with all of you, with, you know, Airbus, with Safran, with all of the main OEMs and tier ones that have operations in Mexico. And, you know, we certainly check first the readiness of your company. One thing that is critical is that if you give a shot and you're not ready, you basically are dismissing your opportunity for this in a long time. If you go for it and you fail at the first one because you're not ready, then, you know, you know, you're gonna, you are wasting an opportunity, and that opportunity may not come in many years. So I don't know if you want to add somewhat to add. Alejandro, please.
Yes, Luis, before I answer, I just briefly add a comment to the last question. When Ricardo mentioned about the needs of Airbus, it just get back to my mind that from a plane, about 50% of the whole plane is composites. So composites are a key element of the airplane. And I know that today some of universities are viewing this fantastic webinar. I know that Technological of Querétaro is on the event, and they have a career of engineer, materials engineer. This is fantastic. If the universities develop this career, but they not only talk about metals or plastics, they must talk about composites in their career for new professionals, for new engineers. So if universities like Tecnológico of Querétaro move their education so that the new engineers of materials has a strong and very strong background of composites, that's a win for the school, and that's a win also for the industry. So composites is just key, and I just want to thank Ricardo to mention that, because composites is 50% of the whole plane. Like Aerosystems, we require in many metals, but the whole plane, see as a whole picture, composites is key on the plane. Okay.
Ricardo?
Again, going back to your question, Luis.
Okay, good. I'm sorry.
Before I put a step in a supplier, I suggest I send a questionnaire and make some questions. And basically, if they are AS, they have a palomita. If they don't, it's a waste of time for me, so I don't visit. So AS is mandatory, and it's mandatory to be a supplier of any other aerospace company. I will not say Airbus or Boeing, because they are at the top of the top. So like Safran, number tier ones, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, if they are a supplier of those, it's good, because then I need to see their KPIs. I mentioned basically OTD, I mentioned PPM, and if they are bad on that, again, it's a waste of time for me. So what I suggest is that the suppliers outside really get in touch with FEMIA and get their coach in how to succeed with companies like Safran, because otherwise they can start, but they will finish in the next month. And on the deepest of my heart, I want suppliers in Mexico, regardless of their nationality. French suppliers being based in Mexico, US suppliers, pure Mexican suppliers. I want them to succeed in Safran. But if they start with mistakes, I will say, c'est fini, monsieur, goodbye. Because they have to strong with the right step they have started with the right step and do perform their KPIs, as I mentioned, on the ranges I require. So I suggest they talk to FEMIA, and probably they contact me, but not in terms of asking me to become a supplier for my coaching. And I will be more than glad to explain them how to be prepared for saffron, because I will suggest probably that probably I will put them in touch with one of my suppliers, and they become a supplier of a tier 3, and they spend a few years in there learning, because you know what, Luis, something else that we don't mention not until now is that the planning, the scheduling and the planning of the aerospace industry, that's very unique. If you are choose to be an automotive supplier or oil and gas, and you want to start in aerospace, but you don't understand the planning, the logistics, the ordering, the MRP, you will certainly fail, because it's very different and very special, very unique. So you need to learn all of that, because even on the planning, if you don't understand the industry and you start to fail with your OTD, forget it, you are done in the industry. So those are the type of learning you need to get before you start in the industry, and especially with the companies like Safra, because we demand the best, because we are a supplier to Safran, to Airbus. So we demand the best because we want to provide the best, and that's achievable. And this is my suggestion: become a member of the, become a member of your cluster. Contact me for sure. I will always answer my emails, my cell phones when they ask for coaching, and I will be more than glad, because this is my job. My job is to develop the supplier base in Mexico, and the gap, as Felipe mentioned, is huge. We have tremendous opportunity for suppliers based in Mexico. It's just the mindset that I mentioned, that they have to be very strongly willing to be a member of the industry and have this already on your business plan of the company. Well, that's my comment, Luis.
Okay, I have, I have many questions that are directed to specific members of the panel, or specific regarding specific companies. I understand that there's gonna be contact information at the end of each one of the panelists, so that specific inquiries will be directed to each one of you guys. So we're gonna try to go for more general questions. I have one question from Rogelio Cisneros. He says, Boeing has presented their forecast for the next 5 to 8 years, and they say the impact is about 10%. Do you agree? What is your take? I don't know if you have seen the recent Boeing outlook. Felipe, I know you have.
Yes. Well, I can tell you, I presented in some of my slides the previous Boeing outlook of the market. And as I said, during this week, they presented the next one for the next 20 years. To be honest with you, it's not big difference in the numbers or the distribution. The only relevant is of course, the slowdown of the COVID-19. If you consider that in a 20-year period, of course, 4 years or 40, 50% on demand decrease, probably in the 20 years will represent some 5 to 10% of demand decrease. So, but in the same report that Boeing is mentioned, Boeing emphasized, and I think is the same opinion of Airbus, that this is a very resilient industry. So at the end, we have been going through similar crises in the past. And as I said, and also Boeing and Airbus said, at the end, the industry will recover. And certainly this is a very resilient industry. So bottom line, we really don't know how much is going to be the impact. We know that in this 4 years period, it's going to be like 40 to 50% of demand increase. Ricardo mentioned a similar number. I mentioned similar number. But certainly at the end of this recovery period, the industry will recover the trend that we saw, as we saw in my chart, based on previous experience.
Thank you. I don't know if somebody else wants to comment on that, on the potential outlook of that. We have another repeating question, is that how is USMCA have impacted the aerospace industry, especially in terms of supply chain and tariffs and all those kind of things? Could you make a comment on that? Ricardo, you have something about that?
Well, definitely it's positive to see that the renewal or the upgrade of this agreement. However, there hasn't been major changes on what was before the previous deal. So especially for our industry, for our company here, most of our relationships are directly to Europe. So we do have relationships with North America and for Airbus. However, the main impact is, or the main transactions are placed to Europe. So there hasn't been major changes to us. We do have some adjustments to make, but not major, not really.
You know, basically, regarding this question, there's a specific question that asking if that is it true that Airbus manufacture all their parts in Europe and then just integrates in Mexico and the United States to avoid tariffs? Is this right, or is this a myth?
We do here in Mexico. We're the single in Querétaro. We're the single source for the A320 exit hatches. And like us, there's everywhere in the world that parts are made. There's a place where the final assembly line, everything gets integrated, but suppliers are all over the world. Like I said earlier, we're not competing to the next door factory. We are competing to an Indian factory or a Moroccan. So it's really not a matter of a tariff avoidance. Actually, Airbus is very strict on transparency and being all ethics and compliance. But the strategy follows a different flow.
Okay, so it's mainly more a myth than a Felipe.
Yeah, I want to make a comment about it. In fact, I answer also in the chat. USMCA is a positive move because it provides confidence to all the players in the supply chain and the economy, especially in North America. Somebody mentioned that, you know, it was set up the lower minimum as $16 per hour. Let me tell you that most of the world-class companies in automotive and aerospace already are there in Mexico. So it's not a big difference. One important point that we need to understand, and I put the example of Toyota, when, you know, basically enter into the North American market. The labor cost of Japanese is probably 3 times higher than a US worker. And still Toyota was able to provide their high quality vehicles in North America in a lower cost than its competitors. How? Because they were very efficient, world-class operational excellence, no waste. So the key, as very well Ricardo mentioned, the key to compete is no longer the labor cost. That's 50 years ago, forget it. Now we gotta compete with technology, with efficiency, with the world-class operations, process and systems, with no waste, with the right process and systems. And really the labor cost is no longer an issue. It's, we are globally competing, and no matter where you are located, you need to be very, very efficient in the way that you manage your operation to be cost competitive. Items like delivery and quality is not even in the discussion. You need to be world-class in delivery and quality just to participate in any market, automotive or aerospace. But certainly those elements that are considered in USMCA are not anymore an issue to compete. You gotta change your mindset. You know, as the example that I mentioned, Toyota was able to produce their cars in almost half of the cost that are its competitors, even that their labor cost is 3 times that the average labor hour in US or Europe. So we gotta learn that lesson from automotive.
Thank you, Felipe. You know, unfortunately, that time is actually beating us right now. So, you know, we're going to end up with one last question for Alejandro. Alejandro, is the face the mask only for employees of Safran, or are they you know, open to the public market, available in the market?
Well, listen, before I answer, this is like a yellow mask, and Felipe just mentioned technology. And apparently this is a simple face mask, but you know what? It has ergonomy technology, but also it has nanoparticles. The nanoparticles inside got the curcumin and the oxide of titanium. How do we do that? Well, I'm just a purchasing guy. I'm not design engineer. I don't know, Felipe may answer that better, but this is really a technology mask. As I mentioned, Obama doesn't have it. We have only in Safran, Chihuahua, and we are distributing inside. But I don't know, you know what, you can send an email to Felipe or just ask him, because as far as I know, those are only for internal for Safran, because we really care about our suppliers, about our employees, I'm sorry. But I don't know how the demand is inside, and I don't know if anyone may. This is the first time I listened that someone outside needs. Maybe Felipe might be able to answer. But this is beautiful.
Right now, it's only using. We are fabricating only for the employees of Safran, not only Chihuahua, in all Mexico and probably North America. But we are not intending to sell it outside. We don't have enough capacity. Just to keep up with our employees, that's enough. But certainly we can share the technology. We do this development together with the Monterrey Tech, and they are the ones that provided nanotechnology that Alejandro was mentioned. So if you are interested, we can put you in contact with the guys in the Monterrey Tech, and they can assist you either to produce it for you or to share the technology with you.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you to all 3 excellent panels that we have the opportunity to share this panel with you today. Thank you, Ricardo, Alex, and Felipe. You know, it has been a pleasure to have this very, very interesting panel. Unfortunately, there's a lot of questions still pending. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to address all of them, but you know, I understand that many of them are specific questions to the panelists, and I understand that contact information will be available at the end of this panel. So thank you very much, and thank you for following up. Please have a wonderful day and stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Luis. Bientôt to all of my friends and suppliers. If you are a supplier, I can probably send you one of the mask. If you perform my metrics, my KPIs, be sure you will get one.
That's a good incentive.
Yeah.
Thank you all, guys.
Thank you all.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.